And it is time now for our Alaska news and comment on radiofreespeech.com. This morning, we take a look at a few stories around the state, and then we'll zero in on one of them for just a few moments. Oral arguments are scheduled for today in Anchorage Superior Court for the lawsuit that was filed by Senator Bill Wielechowski and former state senators Rick Halford and Clem Tillian. The plaintiffs are demanding a full dividend payout for 2016, and they've asked the court to order the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation to transfer funds from the Permanent Fund Earnings Reserve account to the dividend fund. Proceeds would then be distributed out to eligible residents in the form of a supplemental PFD check. In motions to the court, both sides submitted lengthy history lessons from the origins of the permanent fund to public perception and the modern-day dividend dilemma. The bottom line is that the plaintiffs want money transferred to the dividend fund so proceeds can be dispersed, and they want the governor to retain the right to control state spending through the line-item veto. Ultimately, the Alaska Supreme Court is going to have the final say on the losing side, undoubtedly appealing. An arbitrator has ordered the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District to pay former Superintendent Pete Lewis, who was fired back in 2014 for incompetent, damages of over $88,000. According to the arbitration opinion, the school board gave Lewis high marks in performance reviews, yet disagreed with some of his judgment calls. Lewis was fired shortly after sexual misconduct allegations came to light involving students and school employees. One of the school board members who voted to fire Lewis said she wouldn't change history and take back her vote, despite the arbitrator's ruling. She said the district was improperly erring on the side of protecting employees when it came to student safety, and that has changed now. Some of Anchorage's most vulnerable homeless people have a place to sleep now that the city's newest supportive housing facility has opened at 3rd and Cordova in downtown Anchorage. That complex is in a renovated building that used to hold a variety of nonprofits, and it features 20 efficiency apartments. It's managed by the Rural Alaska Community Action Programs, the same agency that manages Carlook Manor, a similar program in downtown Anchorage. This new complex will allow people to drink in their rooms. The majority of residents will be people with mental health issues, and like Carlook Manor, they believe that the emergency calls will go down once people have permanent housing. Residents are expected to pay rent about 30% of their income. It could be a Social Security check, a dividend from a native corporation, or a permanent fund dividend check. The average is about $250 a month. Now, the rest of the cost is covered by a grant from the Housing and Urban Development Agency. Meanwhile, a woman was found dead inside a vehicle parked outdoors in the Fairview area of Anchorage on Wednesday morning. City police are investigating. Officers came by around 9 a.m. after a call from a citizen who found a woman in his unlocked vehicle. He believes she was dead. There was nothing suspicious at the scene. They're still trying to contact the woman's family. It's not immediately clear whether she was homeless. A Colt Python .357 revolver that was used to wound an Anchorage police officer during an early Saturday morning shootout is the same firearm used in 5 Anchorage homicides this year. While police have linked the same firearm to each of the 5 killings, they haven't definitively said that the man who was shot and killed by police, 40-year-old James Dale Ritchie, was the triggerman in all of those fatal shootings. Now, James Dale Ritchie was not on the Anchorage Police Department's radar at all. It wasn't until he came in contact with APD by happenstance on Saturday when he shot at an officer responding to a theft. Officers fired back, killing him. Detectives are now digging into Ritchie's past, his social media accounts, and his phone records, trying to find his connection to the shootings. Meanwhile, those who knew him say they never saw this coming. For months, Anchorage has been asking questions because the gun's similar to the one that was used in the 5 killings between July 3rd and August 28th. Were those killings related? Was it the same gun? Was it a serial killer? And in each and every interview, public meeting, and social media post, Anchorage police chose their words very carefully. Those killings were among 5 homicides now revealed to have been used committing the same .357 Colt Python. Now, while Ritchie has only been accused of one of those killings, the other ones are still under investigation, and that gun is most likely the single most important piece of evidence to link them. The existence of this unique handgun, known by police to be committed and connected to these other multiple killings, was kept hidden from the public. Yesterday, homicide detectives talked about why they made that decision in a far-ranging Facebook Live video that revealed new details about the murder probe. Police wanted to avoid any misstep that could prompt the killer or killers to toss the weapon. saying that an FBI behavioral analysis unit advised Anchorage police to withhold any information about the gun, the model, the caliber, and the role it played connecting the crimes. A 40-year-old Vinnytai man is facing felony charges for a September incident in which he reportedly broke into a South Cushman home, threatened a man with a knife, and poured hot sauce on him before forcing him to withdraw money from an ATM. Keith Allen Roberts is charged with first-degree robbery, first-degree burglary, and third-degree assault. According to the criminal report filed Wednesday in Fairbanks Superior Court, the alleged victim called Fairbanks police at around 3:45 in the morning on September 21st to report that he had just been robbed. When police responded, the man told officers he woke up to find a man standing over him wearing a bandana over his nose and mouth. He tried to fight him, but eventually was overpowered and pressed to the floor, at which point Roberts pressed a knife against the man's neck and told him that other people were outside and he'd have to make it look like he killed him. So he made the man lie on the floor and poured hot sauce all over the left side of his body and then opened the door to supposedly show the others that he had killed the man. Roberts then gathered food and a guitar and set them outside, but left them behind when he took the man's car and forced the man to accompany him to an ATM to withdraw money with his debit card. Police say that two people accused of beating a star of the hit reality TV series Deadliest Catch over the weekend have been arrested. 30-year-old Amanda Ritter and 29-year-old Jorel Fultz were arrested and booked into the Spokane County Jail on Tuesday on suspicion of robbing Jake Harris. Harris and his family have been featured on the Discovery Channel show about fishermen in Alaska for many years. Troopers in Fairbanks received a report on the 16th that 28-year-old Geneva Cleveland of Fairbanks and her 32-year-old boyfriend, Chad Lowry, were missing. Apparently, the two had not been seen or heard from since the early morning hours of November 14th. Meanwhile, a report out later in the day said that family had reported to troopers that they had contact with the two and they were fine. Authorities in Washington State arrested two Mat-Su residents in the weekend shooting death of the grandmother of one of them. Catherine Joanne Chase, 23, of Wasilla, told authorities that she and her 25-year-old boyfriend, Willow resident Paul Rankin, conspired to kill her grandmother and father and then moved to Texas. Chase initially said that she was kidnapped. The grandmother was killed, but her father, who was sleeping at the time of the pre-dawn shooting, was unharmed. Chase was arrested Saturday on suspicion of first-degree murder, and Rankin was arrested on Sunday on felony criminal conspiracy to commit murder. This incident took place near Ocean Park, Washington, which is a seaside town of about 2,000 along the Long Beach Peninsula just north of the Oregon border. The victim was 64-year-old Clipson Beach resident Paula Rice. An elementary school in North Pole is getting a new name next year. Fairbanks North Scarborough Board of Education on Tuesday voted to remove Badger Road Elementary School's name effective June 30th, 2017. A committee will be chosen to come up with a new name. The school is named after a road that's named after Harry M. Badger, a popular strawberry farmer of the 1900s with a criminal past. In 1916, Badger pleaded guilty to raping a 10-year-old girl. School board members said it's time to acknowledge the mistake and take the pedophile's name off the elementary school. A man arrested in Anchorage in a Midtown vehicular rampage over the summer has now been charged with murder in the Tuesday shooting of a mechanic at a South Anchorage auto shop and dealership. According to witnesses, 26-year-old Trevon Aldridge came to the shop that afternoon and, for unknown reasons, shot 51-year-old mechanic William Schmaus. Schmaus, who's from Fairbanks, was declared dead at the scene. Not including Tuesday's shooting, there have been 28 other homicide victims in Anchorage this year. Now, those numbers provided by EPD do not include at least 3 people killed by police officers in shootings. The record of 29 homicide victims was set in 1995 when the city had about 50,000 fewer residents than today. The Anchorage Assembly passed a nearly $504 million operating budget on Tuesday night that adds money for police while cutting holiday bus schedules, snow plowing, and other services. During Tuesday night's meeting, the Anchorage Assembly made minor additions, including a small grant to the nonprofit Girdwood bus service, lessening a proposed staffing cut to the Anchorage Library, and extending an independent auditing contract for the city's pricey upgrade of its business software. Mayor Berkowitz also brought forward a revised budget that incorporated suggestions made by Assembly members last week, such as rolling back proposed cuts to the Anchorage and Chugach senior centers. He also restored nearly 40% of a proposed $210,000 cut to the mayor's community grant program. This operating budget includes a $3.1 million boost to the Anchorage Police Department budget to bring on more than 50 new officers amid the deep community public safety concerns sparked by the rising city homicide rate. The Assembly voted 7-4 to approve the budget Tuesday night, with the no votes coming from Assembly members Bill Evans, Amy Dembowski, Bill Starr, and Patrick Flynn. Starr and Evans both said the city hadn't done enough to rein in local government spending. Those who voted in favor said it balanced cuts with bolstering public safety. Advocates for Bethel's sex offender treatment program fear a rise in recidivism rates for sex offenders following deep budget cuts and a significant staffing reduction for the program driven by decreased funding from the State Department of Corrections. The program's staff has been reduced from 3 members with a combined 40 years of experience to 1 member with 4 months of experience. Now, board members, former employees, and advocates are saying the change is too much too soon. They fear recidivism will increase, costing the state more money down the line and damaging YK Delta communities along the way. Anchorage police allege a Boys and Girls Club volunteer volleyball coach sexually abused 2 minors. The 56-year-old coached at Anchorage Boys and Girls Club and performed maintenance at Holy Rosary Academy, a local Catholic school. Neither of the victims is tied to those locations. The man was arrested and jailed on Wednesday on more than 24 counts of second-degree sexual abuse of a minor, exploitation of a minor, and child pornography possession. Halfway through his 4-year term, Governor Walker announced a shakeup of his leadership team on Wednesday, replacing Chief of Staff Jim Whitaker with Scott Kendall, an attorney fresh from U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski's victorious reelection campaign. Whitaker is a longtime ally of Walker's, and the governor, in a Wednesday morning memo, described him as, quote, my anchor from day one. 41-year-old Kendall, meanwhile, has never worked in Juneau, but has been part of Alaska's Republican political circles for about a decade, having worked with Murkowski, the late Republican Senator Ted Stevens, and investor Bob Gillum. Kendall also worked with Walker's gubernatorial campaign in 2014, although Walker, who was a Republican turned independent, was trying to unseat a GOP governor. Also, Kendall married into a prominent Democratic family. His father-in-law is Luke Hopkins, the former Fairbanks borough mayor, and other ally of Walker's. Meanwhile, Whitaker is a former state legislator and Fairbanks borough mayor who has worked alongside Walker, pressing for development of a state-controlled natural gas pipeline, a project that Walker's administration is still pursuing and that Whitaker will now be sitting firmly in front of. Meanwhile, the federal agency responsible for conducting the environmental review for the $55 billion Alaska LNG project has sent project officials 268 pages of comments and questions, a demand for information from several state and federal agencies that will keep the state busy when it takes the reins of the project. The request comes in response to information contained in only 5 of the 12 draft environmental reports from that the project partners have submitted to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission for review. After more than 3 weeks, a Bethel Superior Court jury cannot decide whether or not a tobacco company misled a Pilot Station man about the harmful effects of smoking. The jurors deadlocked after Philip Morris USA was at fault for the death of Benjamin Francis. Francis died of lung cancer at age 52 back in 2004 after a long history of smoking Marlboro Whites. Francis's wife and children sued Philip Morris USA and its parent company, Altria Group, for product liability, fraud, and wrongful death. Attorneys for Philip Morris USA didn't respond to a request for comment. Attorneys representing the Francis estate have a week to file for a retrial based on the family's decision. An Alaska state senator who earlier this week said his current trip to India was a personal vacation is actually on an official visit with an organization subsidized by the state. A day after he told a reporter that his whereabouts were, quote, none of your business, Kodiak Republican Senator Gary Stevens said in a phone interview that he was in the Indian metropolis of Mumbai with a working group organized by the Council of State Governments and headed by Delaware Democratic Governor Jack Markell. Stevens says that Alaska was, quote, paying absolutely nothing for the trip, but the state actually spends $82,000 in membership fees for that Council of State Governments. It's a Kentucky-based policy group that Stevens once chaired. Stevens said he didn't think there was any connection between the fees and his trip, although he did refer specific questions about costs to CSG. During the ongoing Tribal Government Symposium question and answer session on Wednesday morning at the Westmark Hotel, a tribal leader noted that the Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian tribes has taken a strong stance in support of the Standing Rock Sioux and their fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline. He said showing solidarity with other Native American tribes in the lower 48 could be very beneficial. He says he believes it won't be long before the Tlingit and Haida have their own Standing Rock scenario in Southeast involving proposed mining operations in Canada. He also noted that tribes cannot wholly rely on grant money to fund government programs because grant funding is often cut off. Tribal courts come and go with grant funding, and money should be appropriated, he said, for programs, and grant money should be used to supplement the programs instead. This leader also noted that leadership classes and training should be established that reflects a tribe's values, and tribal sovereignty should be used. A man stole the wheels from a parked plane in Wasilla this week, but was caught when he tried to sell them online. Troopers responded to the theft near Brocard Road at around 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Investigation revealed that someone had stolen the bush wheels off a 1950 Piper PA-20 and left the plane on blocks. The suspect actually caused significant damage to the aircraft during the theft. When an internet posting offering the wheels for sale was spotted, a sale was arranged by an unspecified party, and troopers went to the Wasilla McDonald's on the Parks Highway where the deal was set to place, and troopers located the wheels in the gray Pontiac G6 sedan and contacted the occupants. 22-year-old Donnie Carlson was in possession of the wheels. He was arrested on charges of theft and criminal mischief. Another man in the car, 28-year-old Wasilla resident Justin Jacobson, was arrested on a warrant for failure to appear on a felony DUI charge. Both men have been held at the Mat-Su pretrial facility, and bail was set for each. It's been a week since the election of Donald Trump, and donations are streaming in to groups that protect the causes that the Republican targeted on the campaign trail. They include groups dedicated to protecting and preserving Alaska's environment and wilderness, as the Republican administration sets its sights on undoing the regulations that President Obama had put in place. The Northern Alaska Environmental Center said the nonprofit group has seen an uptick in donations since Trump's election last week. Environmental groups are anticipating a rollback of regulations, particularly where research development is concerned. Anglers, hunters, and trappers will fork over more cash next year in order to pursue their favorite critter, in some cases considerably more. Virtually every Alaska hunting, fishing, and trapping license will be more expensive, up to 80% more for residents, up to 200% more for non-residents. But the only ones escaping beefy price hikes are non-residents buying an annual sport fishing license at still $145, and the king salmon stamps for both resident at $10 and non-residents for $100. Price hikes were part of House Bill 137, which passed during the last legislative session. The first time in 24 years that hunting license and tag fees have increased, the first time in 10 years for fishing licenses. Hundreds of thousands of Alaskans and outdoorsy visitors will be affected. Some 329,000 resident hunting, fishing, and trapping licenses were sold last year. Nearly as many, 306,000, were purchased by non-residents, and they paid $7.6 million more than residents for that privilege. All told, sales of licenses, tags, and stamps to anglers, hunters, and trappers brought in $26.4 million. Sportsmen and women looking to save money can take advantage of a grace period through the end of this year that will allow 2017 licenses to be purchased at 2016 prices. Edith Grunwald said that she knew something was wrong when her usually punctual teenage son didn't return home Sunday night by their agreed-upon time, 9:20 p.m., By Tuesday evening, 16-year-old David Grunwald remained missing. His Ford Bronco was discovered burned up on a local trail in Wasilla. Right now, David's mother and troopers are asking the community for help in locating the 6-foot-tall, 150-pound boy who was last seen Sunday evening when he dropped off his girlfriend. Grunwald described her son, a student at Mat-Su Career and Technical High School, as a clean-cut kid with plans to join the military and become a pilot. He was last seen wearing an orange North Face jacket or pullover, jeans, and tennis shoes. And troopers are asking anyone with information on David's whereabouts to call them at 907-352-5401. One man was killed and another severely injured Wednesday night when their pickup trucks collided head-on on the Glen Highway in Sutton. 24-year-old Dustin Lakey was headed north on a 2008 Ford Ranger. The other driver, 45-year-old Gene Boydo, was headed south in a Ford F-150. The two vehicles collided head-on the center line of the roadway. Lakey was pronounced dead at the scene. He was not wearing a safety belt. Boydo was taken to the Mat-Su Regional Medical Center with a serious injury. And the state would like to remind folks that now that we're finally getting some snow, it's time to remind everyone to drive safely. DOT wants to make sure that you stay at least 200 feet behind any equipment that you may be following. Speed limits are posted for ideal conditions during the summer when roads are dry. Now that roads have ice on them, it's recommended that you drive slower than the posted speed limit to reduce the chance of accident. And state road conditions are available online at 511.alaska.gov. Lastly, from a police report just this morning, multiple car collision closed the eastbound Mitchell Expressway at the Lathrop Street intersection with a detour to 30th. Traffic will be diverted until the accident is cleared. That's our news. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and in just a moment, we'll take a look at one of the stories in a little more detail.